Hello and welcome to Lynn Spreads. This is Lynn Spreads on YouTube. This is the ACC Conference Preview. We will be doing conference previews for each conference and also the independents. We won't forget about those. Let me just run you through what's going to happen for each ACC conference. Conference preview. We'll be giving you team previews. We'll take you through every team in that conference and we'll give you an in-depth look at projections, players, you name it, schedules. We'll look at that. Next, once all the team previews are done, I'll give you a slideshow that you can watch. It will include key games. These are games throughout the year. They could be non-conference. They could be within the conference, but just games that you're going to want to watch in the ACC or out of it that are going to make an impact on this college football season. Secondly, I'm going to give you players to watch. These could be Heisman candidates or just even teams that are going to impact, players that are going to impact their teams. And then lastly, I'll give you the projected winners of the Atlantic and Coastal Division. And finally, the ACC Conference. Now, if you've done your homework, then you know who I've picked for the ACC Atlantic and Coastal Divisions. But you do not know what I've done for the conference overall. So I kept that a secret until now, so you'll get to figure that out. So let's go ahead and get started with our team pages. Our first team is Boston College. Boston College snapped a long bull streak with a 4-8 record last year. The only thing that may have saved fourth-year head coach Frank Spaziani's job could have very possibly been an upset victory against Miami, Florida last year in their season finale, 24-17. This year, the Eagles opened the season with the Hurricanes, and Lynn Spreads calls for their back-to-back wins against the Hurricanes to end. Now, while Spaziani may be on the hot seat, we could see some improvement this year. Spaziani certainly hopes so. However, there is room for Boston College to go backwards. This is going to be a key season to see which way Boston College goes, if they establish themselves as a team in the middle of the ACC Atlantic Division, or if they slip towards the back. Look for junior quarterback Chase Reddick to have a better year, and Boston College, with his help, could possibly sport a better record than 4-8. The 2011 Clemson squad started off the season strong, sporting a number 6 ranking heading into Georgia Tech after an 8-0 start. Quarterback Taj Boyd looked great through those first 8 games, but he and the Tigers trailed off towards the end of the season and got whacked in the Orange Bowl, giving up 70 points to the Mountaineers of West Virginia. This year, Lynn Spreads has Clemson ranked as number 8 heading into their opening game against Auburn, and Taj Boyd, much improved this year, should be a Heisman contender. According to Lynn Spreads, both Clemson and the Florida State Seminoles should be undefeated heading into their matchup in Tallahassee on the 29th of September. This game could very possibly decide who takes a trip to Charlotte at the end of the year for the Atlantic Division. One of the disappointments last year in college football may have been the Florida State Seminoles. Preseason ranking of number 6, things just seem to fall apart. This year, however, might just be the opposite. Lynn Spreads has the Seminoles ranked at number 2 to start off the season, and they have a great shot at the national championship game. They get Clemson and Florida at home, and their only difficult road game is at Virginia Tech on November 8th. That's a Thursday night. Backed by the veteran leadership of E.J. Manuel, the offense should see lots of improvement, and the Seminole defense is absolutely loaded. It might just be one of the best Ds in college football this year. Our prediction? If a championship doesn't work out, the Seminoles should be on their way, and most definitely they want to be on their way to their first BCS Bowl game in over 5 years. Maryland's inaugural season under new head coach Randy Edsall was a major disappointment. Their 2011 record of 2-10 snapped their streak of 4 straight bowl appearances, in which 3 of those 4 games were victories. This year, however, Edsall and the Terps should be improved, with a good chance to double the win total from last year. In short, a bowl game still may be somewhat of a long shot, but we should definitely see some improvement. Also, quarterback C.J. Brown showed some good signs last year, and Maryland needs to see some good performances from him again this year. One of the most overlooked and underrated players last year in the ACC, not to mention the national scope, might have been quarterback Mike Glennon of North Carolina State. He threw for over 3,000 yards last year, and he should be one of the top quarterbacks in the nation this year. The Wolfpack open up with a difficult non-conference game against Tennessee in Atlanta. This Friday night game on ESPN should give some publicity to Glennon. As far as the rest of the season is concerned for the Wolfpack, they could be an upset away from winning 10 games this season. This team is a serious dark horse team for the ACC Conference title, not to mention the Atlantic Division. So we should definitely see some improvement from North Carolina State this year, and maybe a BCS bowl game. Last year, Wake Forest just squeaked into their first bowl game in 3 years. They played Mississippi State. They played them tough, but lost in the end 23-17. This year, the Demon Deacons have just 11 returning starters, and this could be a down year. However, they'll face North Carolina in Week 2, and this should be a good measuring point to see how they will fare in the ACC this year. While this may be a down year, depends on what they do in these games. They've got some winnable games at home, for instance, Liberty, North Carolina, Army, Duke, and Boston College. I'm not saying they're going to win all of these games, but they've got the opportunity. Now we're going to move on to the ACC Coastal Division, and we'll start with Duke. Duke, while a basketball school, hasn't shared the same success on the football field. Their last bowl trip was in 1994, and they haven't won a bowl game in over 50 years. While they do face Stanford in Week 2, the remaining non-conference schedule is pretty winnable. They've got Florida International, North Carolina Central, and Memphis. They all make trips to Wallace Wade Stadium. This year's squad should best the 3 wins they recorded last year, perhaps even winning 3 games in September, those games that we just listed. But it's doubtful they will reach a bowl game this year. Georgia Tech is a team that has lots of talent. Quarterback Tevin Washington returns, as do fellow running backs David Sims and Warren Smith. Combined between the 3 of them last year, they recorded just a shade under 2,400 yards of rushing, almost 1,000 of those yards from Washington. Unfortunately for the Yellow Jackets, they face a difficult schedule having to play Virginia Tech, Clemson, and Georgia all on the road. If they can earn a win in 1 or maybe even 2 of these games, they should easily compete for a Coastal Division title. Right out of the gates, they have to face Virginia Tech in a Monday game. Lynn Spreads calls for Virginia Tech to win this game. For more spreads and projections, make sure to check out the website. Miami might be the team that has the most question marks in the ACC. While they are once again eligible for a bowl game this year, they may be challenged to actually get there. They face a tough non-conference schedule with games against Kansas State, that's an away game, Notre Dame, and South Florida. Quarterback Stephen Morris finally takes over the Hurricane offense. Now, Miami fans, I'm sure, are sick of hearing this, but a lot of this season will have to do with how Miami takes care of the football. In other words, limit interceptions. While Ja'Cory Harris limited his turnovers last season, this year it'll be up to Morris. So while they could potentially reach a bowl game, it's much more likely that this is going to be a rebuilding year for the Hurricanes. One of the 4 teams in the FBS that have bowl bans is North Carolina. However, when it's all said and done, they could have the best record out of all of those 4 teams. Those 4 teams being North Carolina, Central Florida, Ohio State, and Penn State. Larry Fedora takes over the squad, having posted a record of 34-19 in his 4-year career with Southern Miss. He inherits a nice schedule as the Tar Heels get Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, and North Carolina State all at home. Overall, Lynn Spreads has this team as an improved team from their 2011 season. Virginia was undoubtedly one of the most surprising teams in the ACC last year. They won 8 games. At one point, they were ranked in the top 25 and also defeated Georgia Tech and Florida State in Tallahassee. This year's squad should compete in a number of games and should make it back-to-back bowl games. Phillip Sims, a transfer quarterback from Alabama, joins the squad and should give Michael Rocco, their current starting quarterback, a little bit of competition. While they are, in my mind, expected for another bowl game, I don't see them matching their 8-win season from 2011. Logan is smart and competitive, so I think he keeps getting better. Those are the words of Virginia Tech's head coach Frank Beamer talking about his starting quarterback, Logan Thomas. Thomas indeed seems right on the brink of becoming an elite quarterback in college football. An early test will come against Georgia Tech in Week 1, a Monday game. Last year, he rushed for a career-high 70 yards against the Yellow Jackets. Overall, this is a team who, despite some offensive inexperience, should make it back to the ACC Championship game for the Coastal Division and could very well find themselves in the Orange Bowl. So that's it for our team previews. So now I'm going to run you through a slideshow. It'll be key games, then followed by key players, and then finally by the projected winners of the Atlantic and Coastal Divisions, not to mention the conference overall winner. So thanks so much. I'm going to be heading off. You guys can just watch these slides. But thank you for watching. And check the schedule online at our website, www.linspreads2012.yolasite.com, for when more videos are coming your way.